Welcome back to the 11 o'clock waffle with me, Mac Forsyth. It's the day of the election, and by the time you listen to this, the British people will have voted on those it deems least likely to screw up the country. This week's show naturally shall be dabbling into the murky world of politics and all about our Resident Master of Parliament, Chris Stanley. So let's meet this week's guests. First up, she's a dab hand cumber special of the waffle, but does that hand extend to politics? Please welcome back, Cathy Smedley.
Evening everyone, evening.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Nice to be back on this election special. I feel there's a good amount of politics in the air, let's see how it goes.
Definitely. And you're quite a regular when it comes to a special show. Stock sci-fi, Halloween. Were you on the Christmas special as well?
Yeah, I was. I think I wore tinsel in the documentary just for that.
Nice. Next up, the second president of Feckles and currently a dungeon master in Oxford. This guest is rather keen to push on this year after missing out on last year's final due to work commitments. Welcome back, Dan Scholes.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very much. I am fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Are you keen to put together a title challenge this year?
Oh, I wish I had a chance. I wish I'd done any amount of preparation for this thing that's about to go down.
Well, you'll be pleased to know there's no questions about the Great British Bake Off on this week.
Oh, good, because pasta bake is all I've got and it doesn't really count, does it?
Okay, well, Dan will be especially eager to be the next guest. This guest replaced Dan in last year's final, before going on to win it. It's our current reigning champion of the show, it's Emma Preuss.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dan.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good to be back on the show.
Okay, Emma, you are champion currently, courtesy of Dan pulling out.
I know. Kind of...
It was a ruse. She did it. She forced me not to play.
Shh! Stop it.
I can't stay quiet any longer. No!
So you're basically saying Emma made you pull out?
Hey, I'm not saying she didn't.
Okay, well let's move on with the show. Question 1 now, and finally we have the chance to discuss Avengers Age of Ultron, which is out in cinemas. Anybody else seen it?
Yes! No!
No, I wish I had, but I've been working. I'm always working.
Did you see it in 3D, Cathy?
No, yes I did! I have to wear 2 pairs of glasses at the cinema because I'm weird. But yes I did.
The opening scene in 3D is worth it.
There is only one scene. Yeah, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I shan't spoil it for anybody, but go see it.
Anyway, the film revolves around the creation of artificial intelligence that decides to wipe out mankind. So of course, where else to start but examples of artificial intelligence in real life? And we'll start with Cathy.
I actually had a bit of trouble thinking about what sort of constituted AI. Of course I thought things like Siri on the Apple phone and her counterpart on the Android. I forget what that one's called. But what particularly struck out to me recently, there's been a Japanese receptionist kind of host AI created, and it literally learns and responds to the commands of the general public. It is a glorified sort of map and thing, but it learns, which I thought was quite impressive, and it's freakily realistic, which is quite good. Yeah, that's what I.
So, good start to the show. Dan, can you top secretary robots?
Well, yeah, there's something about AI that sort of freaks me out. I mean, the idea, I suppose it's meant to freak us out, really. It's like the fact that something that we've created has exceeded our control. But what really creeps me out about it is that people have this urge to put that kind of technology into something that looks human, which is just like uncanny, I guess, is the only word I can describe it. If you type in, "I feel fantastic," into YouTube, you will find something that is horrifying and yet haunting, and you can't not watch it once you see it, but it's horrible. I'm going to put a link of it in the Facebook page when you put this up, actually. But yeah, there's just this kind of person talking, but it's not a person, and yet they're saying things like, "I feel pain," but if something's programmed to say that, does it actually I don't know, what have we created? I'm scared by AI. I'm terrified by AI. If you've seen the film Artificial Intelligence, like that little kid, Haley Joel Osment, whatever his name is, that's so saddening to watch that film. It's heartbreaking, and like it just blurs the lines between what is real and what is not. And I think that's where AI sort of.
Has anybody seen Ex Machina?
No.
That's a similar theme of artificial intelligence taking over, and that one's really, that's really good, but very dark. Okay, Emma, last of all.
Well, AI is clearly coming on because they've managed to make Ed Miliband look almost human now. You almost can't tell he's a robot. No, mine's actually a bit less uncanny valley. But I was watching a program the other day about how chocolate's made. Basically, pretty much all of the chocolate that we consume in this country is dealt with in one warehouse, which is just referred to as the building, which is the size of 2 football pitches and over 8 stories high. But absolutely no humans work in there. The second from the chocolate getting in to leaving, it's all mechanised. And this warehouse manages itself. It's got an entire computerised system which knows exactly where everything is and what's going on. And no people have to work there. No one has to touch it or do anything with it. And I find that scary. I mean, not just because, machines are creepy, but how that bodes for the future. That there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to machines like this. When you can have a warehouse that can think for itself, you're going to have a lot of people who are losing their work, which is a bit scary. I don't think we need to be worrying about the immigrants. I think we need to worry about the machines.
I think that's a good thing, though. I think if we get to a point where we've developed technology that is able to do everything for us, no one will have to work. We'll all just have a great big party. It'll be amazing.
Yeah, but I think that probably won't happen, will it, though? Because
we could devolve into revolution and revolt and, everyone might kill each other, but we might not.
What happens when the Union for Fair Trade Robots forms and the robots start demanding pay and then they overthrow mankind and feed us all into chocolate machines?
Then, the robots will eat human chocolate made out of our crushed bodies.
We'll just have to, get some kind of rust disease implanted that will just spread among the robots and destroy them all. And then we'll rise again, triumphant humans.
Or it might be a good thing. They might become part of our society and, we'll be discussing the fact there's not enough robot representation on panel shows. Little by little, it'll become normal.
Have the first robot prime minister.
As I've said before, we're not far off. Both Miliband and Cameron look disturbingly robotic.
Let's move on to question 2 now then, and Craig Charles is leaving Coronation Street to return to his signature role as Dave Lister in Red Dwarf. But what else from the 80s should make a comeback? Dan?
I have chosen something that I think has, in my opinion, already begun to make its comeback, but I want to make sure that it sort of continues on that lines, and that thing is board games. With the rise in technology, as we've already discussed, video games have sort of taken over the market a lot with regards to, social interaction and gaming.
Yeah.
Even when video games used to be split screen, you could, do a co-op in the same room as someone. Now they've gone on to this whole, I'm online, you play in your room alone online, and that's how we'll communicate. And I think that's really sad because you've lost that element of social interaction. And I think that board games rely on that. Like, you can't play a board game, really, if you're not in the same room as someone. Even with Skype, it doesn't work quite the same way. And I have played a lot of D&D over Skype. But board games in general, I just love. I mean, I've moved recently to Oxford to work in a board game cafe. So this is why I feel that really they are making a comeback, because in my daily life, I see them all the time. I see families come in and play in them. And it's just really nice to see kids learning new games. And even working away from things like Monopoly and Scrabble, which are the classics, we're getting so many new games that are still coming out every single month. And it's just really, I think it's incredible.
Excellent answer there, Dan. Okay, we should probably segue from board games to Cathy. Is that your answer gone?
I have to agree with Dan that board games are making a big comeback. Anyone knows me knows I do quite a lot of travelling up to Exeter in Devon, and they've literally just opened Board, which is a new board game cafe, and if you live there, you should go.
I have seen that. I've been checking out the competition, of course.
Of course. Why would
There's
you?
also drafts in London as well.
Oh, awesome.
Check it out.
But yeah, so I have to agree with Dan on that board games are making a substantial comeback. My answer to this is very unsurprising. It's good slasher films. They seem to have died a death after the mid-90s, where they're now more based on how many people can we turn red than actually can we have fun with a horror film. You don't see any Nightmare on Elm Street or any Friday the 13th anymore. It's all like actual scares rather than let's just make a funny horror film. But yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I'm trying to think. So that was how Peter Jackson made his breakthrough, wasn't it?
With Brain Dead, I think.
With Brain Dead, yes. And obviously, is it Cronenberg? Did he do lots of messed up ones? Shivers, Slivers, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
A lot of people do start out with that sort of thing because it's a good way to play around with effects and sort of, learn about the ropes of making films and try and get your name out there. But the problem is that a lot of I think the nice thing about people making early films with that sort of thing is that they have to be a bit more ingenious because they don't have the budgets. People have to think about things more. This is my opinion with films in general, but I think it probably is the same for that genre.
I think you're right.
Emma, what are you bringing back from the 80s? Is it a perm? Are you sporting a perm tonight?
I'm not. Though, to be honest, I'd be more than happy to bring back big hair. Maybe not perms, but like proper hair metal, backcombing ridiculousness of the 80s. I'd have a lot of fun with that coming back. So, yeah, if I could pick a style and music genre, that would probably be it. I've picked a bit of a dark one. I think that Threads should make a comeback. Threads was actually a film about the effects of nuclear war, and basically it focuses on Sheffield and shows what happens if nuclear bombs were dropped on the UK, and it is possibly the most terrifying film you will ever watch, and it's a documentary, or a mockumentary perhaps.
What's it called again, sorry?
Threads.
I've heard of
Threads.
this.
It is a tiny bit terrifying. I've only seen trailers for it.
I've watched it all the way through. Apart from the fact that, for maybe a day you feel like you're never going to be happy again, I think we've got a lot to learn from that. And I think a lot of these people who are saying, oh yeah, we need Trident, we need nuclear weapons, I think that it's something that people should actually have a bit of a think about. It's been a long time since we've seen the effects of what nuclear war can do. And I think that people need a reminder. Also, do watch Threads. It's really good. It's very grim. It's very horrifying. But it's an amazing film and a really interesting one as well. They got a lot of research done by a lot of leading scientists to question the short-term and long-term effects that a nuclear bomb would have.
Okay, on to question number 3 now, and Russell Brand has changed his mind and is urging people to vote in this week's election. This a whole month after registration for the vote ended. He's also decided to back Labour randomly. So which party can claim to have the greatest vote swinger in terms of name dropping? Cathy?
I had a little interest looking into this, and that actually it seems like Labour have had the most celebrity backers to this point, including people such as the great physicist Stephen Hawking has come out as backing Labour, which I think is probably obvious, and people similarly like Eddie Izzard and other people. But one of the weirdest ones I came across was Ian Brady of the Moors Murderers is backing UKIP, which
that's not really a backing they want.
Which is both weirdly sort of expected and still really surprising.
So good one. Okay, Emma.
I found the same thing. Labour seems to have a lot of really good supporters. I think it's kind of interesting. They've got Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, and they've also got J.K. Rowling. So they've got the worlds of sci-fi and fantasy behind them. But in a kind of reverse way, the Conservatives have Simon Cowell, which is enough to put me off voting for them. So that swung a vote the other way, maybe.
They've also got Katie Hopkins, which is an even more increasing vote for not to vote for them.
Yeah.
Katie Hopkins said she'd leave the country if Labour got in. That's all Labour need.
Exactly, yeah. Vote Labour, everyone.
Vote Labour.
No.
Katie Hopkins will go.
It's too late now. The Conservatives have won. Or have they?
On the other hand, Green have got Joanna Lumley, which I think is pretty cool. If you want to have the support of the fabulous behind you.
Why don't you just name all the people that have voted for everyone and
leave Dan some.
Why don't you just go through, listen through.
I've stopped now. I've stopped.
You've said them all now.
Dan, be grateful Chris Stanley's not on the show. We'd
Sort-
still be going. So is there anybody left for you to name, Dan?
No, I hear that Joanna Lumley is supporting the Green Party. I don't know if there is anyone. Steve Coogan is doing those adverts, which I think is really weird. I don't like that. I think I don't know, they shouldn't get involved too much in that respect because they have so much influence over people. And really all they're going to do is, I don't know, and politics in general. Politicians, again, have too much influence over people. I always wonder how much the people who are supporting them on the front in public are actually reporting them and how much they're just being paid. Obviously, it's nothing to do with this election, but JFK was like really good pals with Frank Sinatra and Marilyn Monroe and stuff like that. And you've got to wonder, like, how much did that influence sort of subconsciously seep through into American elections? You know, if people see their favourite singers or favourite musicians or artists or whatever being chummy with a guy who's running for presidency, that shows like a different side to the president. He's a human. He's got friends who are really cool as well. And that might, affect young people specifically, especially. So I don't know. I think it's really dangerous to get celebrities mixed in with politics.
I was just going to say, for instance, I have no idea who he is, but Joey Essex has been going around meeting political parties, and some may say he's not the smartest gentleman in the box, but he's getting a section of the teen, preteen, older teen market at least looking at politics, even if they're not voting.
I suppose it's good that they have an interest, yeah. I'm just worried that it's not without some kind of hidden intent. I'm all up for people getting involved with politics. I just want to make sure that they're free to make an independent, educated choice, not subject to some kind of propaganda that the people they adore are pushing onto them. That's my main worry.
I was going to say, Stephen Fry wrote quite an interesting post about that, about the fact that he wasn't going to say who he was voting for because he doesn't think that celebrities endorsing parties is a good idea.
That's another reason why I love Stephen Fry.
He's a good man.
He's a great man.
Let's have the scores now then at the end of the first round. At the back on 10 is Dan.
Yeah, obviously.
And tied on 11 each, Cathy and Emma.
Way! Hair buddies!
School buddies and hair buddies.
Question 4 now, and Disney has been criticised for a lack of female superhero toys after the merchandise range for Age of Ultron failed to include Black Widow. So let's have your nominations for female superheroes who deserve greater recognition. Dan?
My biggest problem with female superheroes is that they're often a superhero that's been written and then just, we've changed the gender and now it's a completely different thing. And that to me, yes, I can see where they're trying to do it to increase, female characters and stuff. But they should just come up with original people that were female to begin with. Like, they've changed Thor into a female character. He's, become a female character, and it's now written in the law that he was always female, which, again, is a very odd thing to do. But if you take a completely original female superhero, and some people will say she's not a superhero, but I think she is, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for example, I think that character is so much stronger and well-known throughout culture and media because she wasn't originally a guy who stalked vampires and they've made a female version of it. She was an original female character, strong character, that was really successful. And I think, for that reason, I think Buffy the Vampire Slayer needs to come back. I think she's due a movie, a remake for the modern age.
Kickstarter.
Yeah. I'm not sure how Joss Whedon would feel about that. He's probably got enough on his plate at the minute with Age of Ultron and the Disney and Marvel stuff going on.
And he's not on Twitter anymore, so you can't even tweet him.
Oh, man.
Okay, Cathy.
I've recently got into graphic novels and comic books, so my suggestion for this would have to be Kamala Khan or Miss Marvel. She's a new-ish, been running since February 2014. Please tell me if I'm wrong. But she's really cool. I think a lot of more people need to look at those particular comics because it's a new way of looking at particular, maybe stereotypes is not the right word, but certainly looking at that sort of thing. But she needs more recognition and people need to read more of her, because she's awesome.
Captain Marvel there. Okay, Emma.
I'm getting my comeuppance for coming up with so many people supporting political parties, because that was actually going to be my answer as well, because there are a lot of female superheroes out there that are just, an excuse to have some boobs. And she's one of the more interesting ones that came out recently. More of a look at identity and more of a character that people can get behind. And it's interesting that, they decided to do she's Muslim as well, which is quite controversial among a lot of people online. But it's a good thing because, if we're going to have a bit more diversity in our culture, we should in our superheroes as well, which I think is one of the reasons why she'd be an interesting one to see more of.
Excellent stuff. Okay, on to question 4. Question 5. 6 British museums are competing for the title of Museum of the Year. So, what museum would you recommend people go visit? Cathy?
There's a couple, actually, that I've been thinking of when I was looking at this. One is, I don't know what stage it's at, but going to see the Mary Rose exhibit in Portsmouth. Obviously, there was a massive, the Mary Rose, it sank, everyone was sad. They brought it up from the depths, and they've been carefully restoring it for the last, I think at least maybe 20 years. And I went when I was back in uni, which was about 5 years ago, and it's gone under some major restoration since I went. So I definitely suggest going and checking that out. If not, I've heard tell on the wind of a film and cinema museum up on St Luke's campus in Exeter, which I suggest people go to.
Good stuff there. Okay, Emma. Nice museums in Swindon?
There's Steam, if you're interested in Brunel and the history of railways. I think that's about it. I have 2 favourite ones. In the UK is the Natural History Museum, just because of the sheer scale of it and all of the amazing things from around the world that you can see there. Internationally, I'd say the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, which is absolutely amazing because there are so many artists that, you end up studying or you end up seeing the work of, and it's always in books and it's always online. And it was amazing for me going there because I was able to see so many works of art actually there, sort of close up as an actual physical picture in a frame. And it's so completely different being able to look at, say, Starry, Starry Night actually on a wall. And it's huge. It's the size of, it's the size of one wall of my living room. And normally I'd be looking at that on a computer screen. And it's such a difference. It's an amazing place.
Sounds brilliant. Okay, and Dan, the man in Oxford, must have some good museums there.
We do. We've got the Pitt Rivers Museum, which is the University of Oxford's museum on archaeology and anthropology. So collected specimens from all over the world, from dating back thousands and thousands of years. There's a whole section just based around the deed of gift, which is a special thing that you should definitely go and check out. If you don't want to go to the Pitt Rivers Museum, though, there is a pencil museum in Cumberland, which houses the world's largest colouring pencil, which is a pretty big feat in all of itself, I think. But they're not my favourite. My favourite would be, and I'm not really even constitutes being a museum, but the Royal Observatory in Greenwich is probably for me the most amazing place I've been. They've got a piece of meteorite, which is apparently the oldest thing in the universe that we will have access to now. Wow. I don't know how many millions and millions of years old it is, but it's right in the front entrance, and you can go up and you can touch it, and you can literally touch the oldest thing on Earth, which I think is amazing. On the way, obviously, over the years, because every time someone walks in and strokes it, it's going to erode gradually. But it's still a sizable chunk, probably about the size of my torso. And I just think that, to me, sort of puts things in a bit of perspective, and it just changes my whole perception of everything when you think that is uncountable millions of years old. Plus, when I was there, they housed it was like a National Geographic competition type thing. So people were taking pictures of things at night sky, stars and stuff, and there was just so many various beautiful pictures of delayed exposure pictures of stars and sunsets and aurora borealis or northern lights, and I just think that it was beautiful.
Sounds pretty awesome there. Should probably mention the Natural History Museum in New York as well. I mean, it's a little bit far to travel, but it's huge. I mean, I ran round it for 3 hours and didn't cover everything. Question 6 now, and David Cameron messed up during his campaign by urging voters to cheer on West Ham and not his own team, Aston Villa. So let us have other classical political gaffes that have been made, and we'll start with Emma.
I think recently there's been some good ones on Twitter, because politicians trying to deal with social media is always pretty hilarious. I liked the Cameron phone meme. Basically, he put up a picture of himself looking really serious on a phone, him or his PR people, and everyone just sort of responded by putting up slowly more and more stupid pictures of people on phones or holding random things up to their faces. And it was photoshopped and lots of celebrities got involved. Patrick Stewart put up a good response where he's just holding up some wet wipes to his face. And people were adding comments like, yes, I've been patched into the conversation, we'll deal with this now.
Good stuff there. Okay, Cathy.
Along a similar vein, I have 2 words for you, and those words are Ed Balls. The best thing, obviously, was that Ed Balls, on the anniversary of the Ed Balls tweet, actually went on and made a Vine about Vine just repeating that. So he literally went Ed Balls, and then that was all. And I think that's fantastic, because he's accepted his fate of being a slight national laughing stock, and he's just rolling with it. Yeah, props to him, to be fair.
Good. Okay, Dan.
I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I thought it was pretty bizarre that Ed Miliband wanted a giant stone slab with his aims as prime minister, even. So he's had this giant slab made in some kind of Moses style commandments. And if he wins and becomes prime minister, he's going to stick it in the garden so that he sees it every day to remind himself what he's meant to be doing as prime minister. I just think it's hilarious.
That is fantastic.
It's only got 6 points on it, which are a strong economic foundation, higher living standards for working families, an NHS with the time to care, controls on immigration, a country where the next generation can do better than this one, and homes to buy and action on rents. And it's signed in an engraved format with his signature at the bottom there. I think it's fantastic.
That last one, homes to buy and rent, is that when he's out of Downing Street after 5 years?
The thing is, he's made it. If he doesn't get in, what's he going to do with it?
You imagine if it goes to a coalition again, he's going to be there just walking around with this slab of rock under his arm. Oh yeah, so this is what I want to do, guys, if anybody's interested. Oh, I can't believe nobody went for Gordon Brown, bigoted woman.
Oh yeah.
It is a classic.
I think, have I just done something stupid? I think I just answered the next question by mistake.
The
What was
party,
the question?
political gaffes.
And what's the next question? Bizarre pledges.
Yeah.
So I think I just answered bizarre pledges accidentally.
Will you give your gaffes one for the bizarre pledges then?
Okay.
We'll put it in the edit. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh man, that's just messing with my head completely now.
We'll have the scores then. Tied 21. Keeping the sister act going. It's Cathy and Emma.
Woo!
Heather by somehow get his answers muddled up. Dan takes the lead on 24.
What? That makes no sense. Are you sure you didn't get your numbers muddled up?
No. To be fair, Dan, you've probably got a rubbish answer for the next one now.
I probably have.
So normally we do our top threes of the week. However, as it's an election special, we're going to do 5 things you can't do in a polling station. So by the time people listen to this, they'll know what not to do in 5 years' time. So number 1, you can't talk about the party you're voting for once inside the station. Number 2, you can't turn up in political clothing or don a rosette for the occasion. You can't take a picture of your ballot paper. That's number 3.
I nearly did that today. I had no idea you couldn't do that.
You could face a £5,000 fine and even a prison sentence for doing such a thing.
Wow, that is lucky I kept my phone in my pocket. Oh my god.
Question number 4, you can't take a friend with you inside the polling booth. Are your polling booths as classy as the ones we got here in Exeter? Which is just like literally cardboard stuck together.
Yep, absolutely the same.
Yeah, in my head, I'm these like posh plastic booths with like curtains and stuff. No, just nailed some wood on the wall. And number 5, you can't sign your ballot paper. I mean, I'm sure technically number 6 is you can't turn up swigging a bottle of gin. Okay, on to question 7 now, and the election is full of promises. But what has been the most bizarre pledge by a party in the history of politics? And we'll start with Emma.
Right, mine's from over in America. When John Kerry was campaigning, John Edwards said that if Kerry was elected president, then people like Christopher Reeves will get out of their chairs and walk again. Because Kerry is Jesus.
He can't even lift his own arms.
Yep.
So he can't. This is a man who can't lift his own arms, but he's going to make Christopher Reeve walk.
Yeah, terrifying.
That's bonkers. Okay, Cathy.
Well, there's a couple I found, but I've had a couple some of the weirdest ones was one man in America had promised to make all businessmen wear clown suits, which I was quite pleased about. But one of the ones from over here is that Nick Griffin promised he would personally grit icy roads in accent black spots. I'd like to see him try.
Okay, and Dan, what pledge have you got? That could be a gaffe.
Well, it's not really a pledge because it is in fact a gaffe, which is exactly what I did a minute ago. But Nigel Mills was caught playing Candy Crush during a committee meeting and was photographed and then had to give like an interview afterwards explaining why he wasn't paying attention in the meeting. And there's a quote, I just thought it was brilliant. He told the newspaper, "It was a long meeting on pension reforms, which is an important issue that I take very seriously. There was a bit of the meeting that I wasn't focusing on, and I had a game or two." But like, not just one game, he was just playing for like 2.5 hours apparently as well.
The other one that got caught out.
As well, he was quoted.
Who was that one that was like using Tinder or something? He was like Snapchatting dirty pictures of himself in his pyjamas. But then it turned out the woman he was Snapchatting was actually a male journalist. Right, let's move on to question 8. And a fan of Kylie Jenner? Nope, no idea who she is. Sent around 20 pizzas to her in exchange for her hand in marriage. But who would you like to propose to, and what is your offer? Emma?
You see, this is an awkward one for me because I've already proposed. So if I start, suggesting other people, it's going to be awkward really, isn't it?
Oh, she won't listen, it'll be fine.
Oh, you don't know about that. She listens to all of her half the shows like 20 times. That's how the Ahmed effect actually works. It's soppy, but it's got to be Lucy. I know I could go with some silly celebrity, but yeah, I'm happy with my fiancé.
You offering anything to her? Pasties, salts, David Tennant dolls?
Love, commitment, loyalty, sincerity, all of that, but also putting up with her David Tennant addiction and accepting the fact that I can never go to the West Cornwall Pasty Company ever again because she despises it.
Okay, Dan.
Well, it's awkward for me as well because I'm not sure how I really feel about marriage as a concept.
You know this isn't legally binding.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure I want to get married at all. I have seen so many marriages fall apart, and I've seen many very happy relationships that have lasted without marriage for many years. And the only reason that I've seen those people get married in the end is they have some kind of security with regards to like legal rights and wills and stuff towards the end. So, I don't know, maybe in 50 years, if I had to ask someone to marry me, I would possibly ask J.K. Rowling's daughter or something. She seemed like she could be all right. Can't be too messed up in the head from having J.K. Rowling as a mother. And, they're the kind of genes that I would be happy to try and continue.
Okay.
As an offer, oh God, I've got to offer something now, haven't I? I would give her a book of all the poems that I wrote as an angry teenager and tell her how obvious it is that I'm going to be the next J.K. Rowling.
Okay.
That would go down a storm, I'm sure.
I'll give you the points for the angry poetry. Does anybody actually know how old J.K. Rowling's daughter is?
About 2 years younger than me, I know that much.
He's researched this.
I've read J.K. Rowling's biography, that's all. And I remember thinking when I was like a teenager, but no.
I could get in there.
Stalker! Okay, Cathy, I wonder where you're going with this one.
Well, why break with tradition, I say. Emma, you'll be happy to know that I shall take David Tennant off your hands.
Excellent.
Yes, I will be sending a letter to his people, and offering in exchange for a lifetime of hair fluffing and Doctor Who quotes, an entire Doctor Who themed wedding, because I like them, and he likes Doctor Who, and that's it. That and maybe oranges. So that's a Doctor Who quote thing.
Would you have like the page boys in Daleks walking you down the aisle and following you with flower girls who were like Cybermen or something?
Surely the ushers should be Cybermen and the flower girls should be the Daleks, because the Daleks have the skirts.
It's
That's true. That's true. That's very clever.
But also, aren't you going to have to get that on the same day as Emma's wedding, because else Lucy is going to turn up at the Does Anybody Have Any Objections part?
I'll do my best to stop her. That's my promise to you.
I'm sending a high five through the airwaves.
Yeah.
Okay, well that brings us to the end of the questions, and our final round, where our guests will present a news headline followed by a 20-second summary of the story. The story will either be true, or something from the past week's news, or entirely fictional. You get how this works by now, I'm sure. So, Emma, as you're narrowly behind, you get to pick this week's running order.
I'm gonna go... Cathy, me, Dan.
Okay. Cathy, what is your headline and story?
Watch out, it's Bear Yonsei! A bear has been captured pole dancing around a tree in Wyoming. And, it was unexpected.
Okay, short and sweet, like it. Emma, you're next, yeah?
Smethwick politics powder keg. In a town near Birmingham, someone's been blowing up UKIP signs.
Yes.
In a powder keg?
Well, it was some kind of lame explosives pun, I think.
I see.
Basically, they think they're based in a town called Smethwick, got fed up of there being UKIP signs everywhere and has started blasting them. And apparently there's a lot of charred posts where the signs used to be.
Oh dear. Okay, and Dan.
So the headline is Woods and Water board game makes a splash. And the story is about a new game that's actually been released. That basically part of the game is you put a cup of water into a reservoir in the base, and throughout the game you're trying to complete these little things, and if you fail on yours, it will shoot water in your face.
Okay, so we've got Bear-on-Say, the powder keg signs, and the... I thought you said waterboarding. Did you say
Yeah, well,
water...
this is it. That's why I chose it, because the people who wrote this...
Yeah.
The game is called Woods and Water, but it's a board game. So they've written Woods and Water board game makes a splash, but it sounds like Woods and Waterboard game makes a splash.
Yeah, I thought waterboarding. I was like, what kind of game is this where you waterboard people if they get an answer wrong?
It's a kid's game. It's brilliant.
Okay, right. So, Cathy, which of those do you think is true or false?
I really want the UKIP one to be true. I don't even care if it's not true. I'm just happy that there's been a thought process behind that one. I think both of them have the potential to be true. I think potentially Emma's is true and Dan's is false.
Okay. Dan, what do you think?
I just... the Bear-Beyonce thing. Like, anyone could see a bear doing something stupid and attribute it to being something completely unrelated. So, in that respect, I think the story might be true. I'm not sure there was actually a bear. I'm gonna say Cathy's is true. And I also think that the exploding signs is probably not ridiculous. I've seen some damage to other signs for different parties around the place, so I'm gonna say they're both true.
Okay, and Emma?
The bear thing, I can easily see someone guessing that, but I think that one's fake, and I think the board game one might be true.
Okay, so we've got a bit of a mixed bag there. A bit Bear-on-Say, is that true or false?
It's extremely true. There's a video for it and everything.
Yes! America's so ridiculous.
I know.
Okay, the powder keg and UKIP signs, Emma?
Sadly, isn't true.
Oh,
I kind of wish it was. I have seen some good sign ruining though, but yeah, sadly, no explosions.
okay, and Dan, the Woods and Water board game, is it available in shops?
It is not. Or if it is, it's been out since 1995. There's no article about the Woods and Water board game being put out there this week, I'm afraid.
It's false.
And it does not shoot water in your face either.
So I think you could have tricked Emma if it was waterboarding.
Why?
I'm not even sure.
Moving on to the final scores now. And that final round has swung everything upside your head. On 33 at the back, once again having towards the end of the show having a questions meltdown, it's Dan.
Oh, for God's sake, I'm never going to win this thing.
On 34 points, it's Cathy. And thanks to a stunning final round there, it's Emma with 35.
Woo!
Woo woo!
So Emma becomes the first female winner of this series so far, and sets herself up nicely to try and reclaim her title. It's never been done. Yet. Oh, Emma thinks she can do it. If you win 2 and Lucy still hasn't won, that's gonna cause tension.
Yeah, it will. But, you know, we've got rings and everything now, so she can't run away.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this like some sort of magnet ring that you just twist to magnetise if she tries to leave?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay, well that is an interesting end to this week's show. When you listen to this, we'll have a new government. Possibly, unless it goes like last time, and we don't, because the country votes and goes, no. Thank you to Dan Scholes, Cathy Smedley, and this week's winner, Emma Preuss. We'll be back next week with more hijinks and facts. See you later. Bye.
Bye!